if you're watching this, you may have already watched my liquid tutorial. And now this is the digits one. And it's just pretty much liquid with your fingers and not your hands. Ta-da! Now, I said I would probably go over it briefly. For any who missed it, I will. There's a concept called ghosting, which is pretty simple. Which is just like hiding what your hands do. Kind of gives magic look to everything. Just anything that has that magical look to it. Now, finger waves. Dun, 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 dun. The most basic move in digits is finger waves and finger rolls. And I see a lot of people, they kind of learn it, but it doesn't, like it's kind of sloppy, and they think you don't really have to work at it anymore. Well, it's one of those things where if it doesn't look perfect, it doesn't really look like anything. One of the biggest problems I see is kind of going like that. Like your hand is moving too slow or too fast for the wave you're making, so your fingers don't all follow the same path, so the look is just completely gone. Now, you just want to go slow and make sure your fingers all go along the same path. Yes, I know going slow can be, not that fun for those who are impatient. Then there's finger rolls, which if you know these finger waves would be easier. And the best way I can suggest learning, a finger roll like that is, let's see, I learned this originally from contact juggling, so you could just take a ball, an orange, something that has a little bit of weight to it, and just roll it back and forth like that. And do it like that too, and keep it in the same spot, and learn to isolate it. Or once you get that, you can apply that to not having a ball in your hands. And doing like that is a good way to learn, because you can see the shape it makes if it's going perfect. And now to move on, there is, oh yeah, you can combine finger waves with normal liquid, say with something like that. Like one hand is doing digits and the other one is doing normal liquid, or do liquid moves with the ends of your fingers all following the same path, which is a bit harder. And now there is a concept in liquid that I don't think I've seen any glovers do. They're called rolls, which is a circular wave where the end of it triggers the beginning of where it started again. So when this finger ends, the other one on the other side begins. And maybe right hand, and that's a good for that because of that fun stuff. Just to give you an idea. Just going like that. And you can use that to kind of give a walking look. And you can do a wave with it, which kind of makes the wave shape more apparent when I add in the other hand. Kind of a corkscrew wave if you rail it. Okay, and there are contours, which is tracing the shape of an object, whether it be real or imaginary. And with digits, it applies to this, which is a pretty classic finger roll exercise, or finger wave exercise. Doing it like this, you guys should probably practice this if you can't do that already. And yes, it is hard. When you first do it, it just kind of seems impossible, but you eventually get it. Just kind of go like that until that's comfortable, and do like that. So there's only like one kind of bigger gap in there, and then add in your fingers when you feel like you can do it, and just keep practicing. And that also applies to, say, like more orbital liquid, where you can contour shapes of your body. You can contour a box in all those kinds of ideas. You can be creative. And there are syncs where your fingers are doing something where there's some kind of synchronicity between what's going on in this hand, the fingers on this hand, the fingers on the other hand. It could be anywhere. And a lot of these concepts fall under each other too. There are contortions, which is bending a wave. So that kind of, it appears a lot of times that it's kind of pinched in its center or at its axis and kind of bent and kind of reformed into a new wave. A basic one would be like the digit 8, like that. That's the most basic one I can think of. You can take your hand off and say put it back like that. And flip your hands around. Just kind of practice bending your waves around, kind of reforming them, and like it becomes more comfortable after a while. You get used to the idea of it. And another basic concept that kind of goes along with syncing is mirrors. And it can be anything at all, as long as what's going on in one hand, like one hand is the mirror image of the other. And it's one of those things where if it doesn't look perfect, like if it doesn't look damn near perfect, it's not really going to hold any value to it as far as how it looks. There are braids, which is also often called threading, which is one fingers interlocking with each other, one after the other. And that tends to be used a lot with some glovers that I see. But it's pretty easy. It's not like super easy, but once you get once it's smooth, you don't really have too much of a problem with it. It just takes practice. And I'd say there is a concept I'm not as comfortable with myself, but I'll bring it up. They're called axis shifts. And let's say you're doing a wave, which waves you can also do, fingers in like that. It doesn't have to be your whole finger, but you're doing a wave and you split it and you shift the axes of the hands kind of differently than one another. This can be kind of confusing, but I think that's something a lot of people overlook as well. I didn't even know it existed until not even that long ago, really. I like the idea. I think that needs to be spread around a little bit more. And let's see if there's anything I forgot to go over. Oh yeah, I can go over remotes a little bit more in detail for digits. Just some ideas for you to practice, which goes along with the idea of syncing. Where you're controlling one hand with the other hand. And remotes are also commonly called puppeteering because, it's pretty obvious. that kind of idea. And the biggest idea in all of this as far as liquid goes, and getting that look of flow with everything in your liquid and in your digits, in your tutting, even if you do that kind of flowy tutting and move around, is speed control. Just that everything, it goes the same amount of distance with each beat, that it's constantly going, that everything is going the same speed. And it just gets that really flowy look to it no matter what you're doing. And that also applies a lot with splits. That's why splits still have that really flowy look to them, even though your hands aren't going along the same path, as they're still going that same speed. And another idea with speed control is, say, with more liquid like this, is that what you're doing kind of has a weight to it. Like when you go up one way, like up a wave, it's a little bit slower, and when you go down, it kind of goes down like it's a roller coaster. That's not necessarily the right way to do it, it's just a different way to give things a different look. And learning both that and a constant speed, you can give a lot of different looks to what you're doing for what you have. You essentially kind of double the amount of looks you can have. And I think that about covers it. If there's anything else any of you want me to go over, just let me know. Goodbye.